Barry Mitchell here with part 2 of our 6-part video series. Again, you can find these on social media, on my website, or on my YouTube channel. This morning, I'm here with Brian Babcock from Mortgage One. Fantastic lender. He's done a ton of work for my clients. So when you're looking to buy a property, you're probably going to need mortgage financing information. Brian can help you with that. So Brian, what might be the first thing you would tell a possible buyer? What's the key thing for them to know going into the process?
Well, people that I talk to, by the time we're done going through the pre-approval process is, you want to make sure that they have full clarity on payment, closing costs, what the difference between buying a house in Massachusetts may look like versus New Hampshire.
Right.
If they're pre-approved versus pre-qualified, I would, for me, if I'm a buyer and I have a piece of paper that says I'm pre-approved, but I didn't provide a pay stub or a bank statement, you may want to double check that.
The benefit for your full pre-qualification, from my perspective as a buyer's agent, can really show to the sell side that we're fully qualified and we can actually afford that property. And that's a big thing when you're making offers.
100%.
So Brian, why would somebody consider using you as a lender versus a local bank or maybe one of these, 1-800 services that you see advertised on TV?
I mean, the biggest thing that I think that how we differentiate ourselves is just availability, and all the upfront that we put into the transaction. We've done pre-approvals 10 o'clock on Sunday nights, where you may not get that at a bank or, a bigger mortgage company that you found online. I think using someone local that came from a realtor, we're vested into the transaction just as much as everyone is to make sure that closes. And again, I think it kind of goes to the upfront and what's done upfront with the client to make sure that, they understand everything. Because kind of at the end of the day, we're essentially all kicking the same soccer ball here as lenders.
Right.
So you want to make sure that, you're comfortable with who you're working with and you have full clarity of the process from the beginning.
Right. And from my perspective, I can speak from experience with you, the communication is awesome. So it allows me to provide a better service to my clients because I have full clarity into what the lender's doing, which is a big chunk of the process. Speaking about the finances, obviously there's a lot of money that you're talking about. Can you give us a little insight into, number one, the competitiveness of your rates, and number two, what does that rate mean to a client? Maybe you can give us an example about a different rate and what the costs are.
Yeah, I mean, the rates can vary. There's so many things that go into it. If you're looking at, say, a $400,000 house, today, versus, if you're looking at, say, a market rate of, say, 3%, right. Versus, say, a year or 2 or 3 or 5 years down the road, if say it's a point higher, then you're looking at probably $300 different in payment.
Right. So just not to jump in, but generally speaking, so you're saying on $400,000 purchase price, a 1-point rate change is as much as $200 to $300 per month in your
depending
payment.
on where the rates are.
Right.
I mean, and the rates, they move. I mean, a couple of years ago we were sitting at 5, now we're at 3. So I mean, you just don't know where they're going to go. Right. Again, that goes back to the pre-approval process to make sure that, if you're pre-approved at a rate of 3%, but if the rate goes to 3.5, now you're not pre-approved, like that's information you got to kind of know up front, and hopefully your lender is kind of going through that, especially if you are at that ceiling.
Right, great. So one of the things that I'd like to ask you, Brian, is in terms of mortgage financing, what do you do different? Like I know you have a breadth of product that you can offer my clients. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, each person's, unique. So it depends on their situation. I mean, there's government products, there's first-time homebuyer loans, there's state programs, there's federal programs. So it's just kind of talking to the buyer, looking at their scenario and presenting them, here are the options. Here's the option if you went 3% down on this product, or if you could maybe come up with 5% down, here's what it looks like on this product.
Right.
So as far as having all that, we have the availability to gain or to have any product that's basically
Excellent.
that's offered.
So you're kind of a one-stop shop for most of my clients, depending on what their situation is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And each year, depending on, changes in the market, one year some government programs may be more popular than say, regular conventional products or state products.
Right, right.
So it changes, it's super, super fluid
Yeah.
on how
Yeah.
the industry changes year by year, and everything that's going on today, it's changing all the guidelines again. So, doing this for 20 years, I've seen, the pendulum here, I've seen the pendulum here.
Right.
And now it's kind of in the middle and not sure which way it's going to go.
Right, right. And that speaks to what you said early on about the communication up front. That's critical to making that the process and choosing the right product for the client.
Yeah, I mean, if you're walking away from a pre-approval, and you don't have full clarity, like, you need to go back to that lender and make sure you have full clarity.
So if somebody wants to get in touch with you, is there a particular time or place or a way to do that for you?
No, I mean, ideally, if someone reaches out to me, I mean, typically we have them start by doing the application online. Then we have a phone call and kind of go over everything. Work with them, getting their income documents, things like that. So the pre-approval process, usually can take a day or so. It's really not much more than that.
Right. And you're available 24 hours a day to help out
Yeah,
clients.
I mean, like I said, we're doing pre-approvals all the time. I mean, we understand that, the housing market happens every day.
Right.
Most of the time it happens on the weekends, so
A lot
we're
of
available.
weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Brian, thanks for coming. Thanks for talking to us.
Yeah.
If there's any further information you may want on the lending process or what Brian can do for you, we'll post his contact information at the end of the video. For me, as always, we'll do the same thing. If there's any questions, consulting, anything you may need, feel free to reach out. Thanks for watching. Look for the next video.